Hello and welcome to the Mental Health Hotline. If you are obsessive compulsive, press 1 repeatedly. If you are codependent, ask someone to press 2 for you. If you have multiple personalities, press 3, 4, 5, and 6. If you are paranoid, we know what you are and what you want. Stay on the line and we'll trace your call.
The problem that we're having is that because of the weapons that the Zelensky regime handed out willy-nilly in the last few days, a lot of criminals have these military-grade weapons, quite frankly. And so there's been robberies, there's been looting, there's been rapes, there's been all kinds of havoc because of these criminals. And it's known for a fact that these a lot of the shooting that went on last night in Kiev had nothing to do with the Russians.
Turns out that what Putin is asking for are really just two demands from Ukraine in order for his military forces to leave the country immediately. And those two demands, well, they're pretty simple. Number one, he's asking that Ukraine remain neutral, that it become a neutral country similar to Switzerland, not a member of NATO. And number two, that Ukraine remove all of its foreign weapons provided by governments from around the world, including the United States.
It's really emotional for me because I see European people with blue eyes and blonde hair being killed.
But this isn't a place, with all due respect, like Iraq or Afghanistan, that has seen conflict raging for decades. This is a relatively civilized, relatively European, I have to choose those words carefully too. I spoke in a way that I regret, and for that, I'm sorry.
And they're creating new cereals like this baby shark cereal targeting little children. This is not stuff that little kids need to be eating. There's another chemical in there too called BHT. That's an endocrine disrupting chemical that can affect children's hormones.
The interesting thing about this is they do it differently in other countries.
Fruit Loops, Apple Jacks, all of those cereals that Kellogg's makes in other countries, they're already making these cereals without artificial food dyes and without BHT. They already have the formula and the recipe. What's taking them so long?
One of the features of this fourth industrial revolution is that it doesn't change what we are doing, but it changes us.
The difference of this fourth industrial revolution is it doesn't change what you are doing, it changes you. If you take a genetic editing, just as an example, it's you who are changed, and of course this has a big impact on your identity. Big impact on your identity. Big impact on your identity.
I wear a mask to school. I wear a mask to school. Hi ho the Dario. I wear a mask to school.
What does Putin want? And why is Ukraine, certainly right now they need some help, so of course they want the NATO, they want EU, but I think it goes back more than that, basically on what Putin wants out of all of this.
Well, based upon the speeches that I've heard from Russian President Putin and the other interviews that he's done and things that he said, what he wants is very simple. He wants security. He wants the United States to live up to the agreement that the United States made back in 1991 when the Soviet Union agreed for the reunification of Germany, East and West. And the United States promised the Soviet Union that NATO would not expand any further eastward than Germany. And now when you look at a map of Europe, Russia is surrounded by Lithuania, Estonia, Latvia, Poland, Romania, Bulgaria. These are all NATO countries with U.S. troops, NATO forces, NATO missiles. And Vladimir Putin has been saying very clearly for, 12, 13 years, we're only going to let you go so far. And the United States is using Ukraine as a proxy, and he drew the line in the sand.
And he said, disarm, and they laughed at him, kicked him out. He said, I'm the president of Ukraine. They said, shut up, we'll slap you. He had to leave, and he was told, if you sign Minsk, we will hang you by the neck until dead. That's the control these people have. And they've done it in the military. These people should have been disbanded, arrested, shot. Instead, the military absorbed them and then promoted their officers throughout the ranks so that there's neo-Nazis everywhere. And the biggest embarrassment of all is when British, American, and Canadian troops go to Ukraine to train that military and NATO tactics, NATO equipment. The photographs show that they're training the Azov battalion because those were the first units the Ukrainian military brought forward for training. We trained Nazis. Zelensky needs to understand that there's a reason why Vladimir Putin is more popular today than he has been at any time, especially since the special military operation. And it's not because the Russians really dig invading Ukraine. They don't. If you ask a Russian straight to their face, most Russians will say, I wish we hadn't done this. I wish we hadn't gone to war against Ukraine. But the more Zelensky acts out, more Zelensky aligns himself with the Nazis, the more he guarantees his ultimate demise. Because he is now becoming the new face of neo-Nazi ideology, not because he himself believes in the same. How could he? He's a Jew. How can a Jewish president embrace the ideology that views Jews as subhumans? Does he not listen to the men who work for him? Does he not see the videos where they mock Jews, where they talk about killing Jews? Why does he ignore this? I'll tell you why. In every concentration camp that killed Jews, you had Jewish facilitators. They were called capos. Zelensky is the modern day capo. He thinks he's in charge. He's in charge of nothing.